afternoon. My name is Sarah Hagee. I'm the Executive Director and CEO with the Electrical Association of Philadelphia. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Matt Dybert, as well as our presenter, Maddie Arnott, with PECO Ways to Save. I'd like to thank everyone. Hey, Maddie. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Specifically, I would really like to thank PECO for their continued support. They are the ones that sponsors today's session, and they allow us to offer this out at no additional cost to you. So in fact, I have a fun fact for today. Philadelphia Electric Company was a founding member of the Electric Club of Philadelphia, founded back in 1917. The Electric Club of Philadelphia eventually, of course, became what we now know the Electrical Association of Philadelphia in 1922. And PECO's been involved ever since. So we really appreciate the longevity with the relationship. Before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that because we are recording today's session, your cameras and mics are both off, but we certainly encourage you to submit questions via the chat feature. We will field those towards the end of our session today. It is now my pleasure to formally introduce Maddie Arnott. She's the Trade Ally Account Manager with PECO Ways to Save. In her role, Maddie provides technical assistance to contractors interested in securing financial incentives from PECO for their customers' energy efficiency and solar projects. Maddie has over 30 years industry experience with a background in sales, building operations, and property management expertise. Maddie also happens to serve as a member of our governing board here at the Electrical Association. So with that, Maddie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Wow, that 30 years always kind of throws me a little bit. I'm feeling pretty old today. But thank you for having me on to talk about our new solar incentive. So just a quick agenda here. We have an overview of Act 129, and you'll see why I want to talk about that. Just going to talk about our program a little bit and then get to the meat of it, which is solar, and then also talk about PECO Trade Allies and what they do. So we can get started. Okay, so PECO Ways to Save, a lot of times we get questions, why does PECO do this? And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And the reason that we have these programs is because of Pennsylvania Act 129. So you can see here that Act 129 is a law. It was signed into law in 2008. And the basic premise of this law is for every distribution company in the state of Pennsylvania to reduce consumption and demand. Okay, so it's not only PECO, it's PP&L, it's First Energy. Everyone has to do it. There is no choice. And this particular law is separated into phases. And you can see right now we are in the fourth phase, and which goes until the end of May 2026. Can you go back one? There we go. Okay, so yeah, that's good. So, all right, great, thanks. So, now you know the why. Why do these programs exist? And I'm going to tell you the how. So you will see for commercial customers, you will see an item on their PECO bill that says energy efficiency charge. This is what pays for this program. And this is how all of the distribution companies do this. We are governed by the Pennsylvania Utilities Commission. They have approved this. This is just how this ends up working. And so when we talk to customers about rebates/incentives for energy efficient projects, we talk about this is something that you do pay for, and let's get you some of your money back. And you can see here, there is a goal. We have to reach a certain reduction by the end of phase 4, again, 2026. And you can see there our reduction is 1,166 gigawatt hours, I'm sorry. And the way that we reach that goal is by talking to customers and talking to contractors and any energy efficiency projects that happen to be going on. We get into our program and we make sure that that customer is getting their incentive. And that's how we build towards that gigawatt hour goal. So just a short overview. So this is the commercial program. We do have residential, but I work primarily in commercial. So PECO Ways to Save is just for commercial customers. Um, Now, to participate, to get a project into our system and get that incentive, you have to be a PECO customer, obviously. Whatever project you're doing must reduce KWH and KW. And then again, this phase ends May 2026. So whatever project you are doing has to be completed by the middle of May 2026. Now, side note, if you're sitting here thinking, wow, well, I did a lighting retrofit, or I did solar, or I did HVAC a couple months ago, that's okay. You can bring it to me because we can go back 180 days to pick up any projects that are completed and enter them into our system for an incentive application. Just to review, I'm sure most of you know this already, but this is just a map of our PECO territory. Philadelphia, most of the surrounding counties, and then a little sliver of York down there on the bottom, you can see. I have a list of PECO territory by zip code. Matt, if I send that to you, maybe we can, if anybody wants it, then they can have that. If you're unsure, if there's a project you might be working on, and you're not exactly sure if it's PECO or PPNL, we can definitely look it up that way. So PECO Ways to Save, there's a couple different ways that you can take advantage of this program. And one is with prescriptive measures. Prescriptive is basically a one-for-one standard equipment replacement incentive with a set price. So for instance, if you're changing out lighting in a warehouse, every fixture is worth a certain dollar amount if it meets the qualifications. So it's just a one-for-one, one price incentive. But then we go over to custom, and custom is covering what doesn't fit into that prescriptive bucket. So we're going to talk about solar, and you'll see solar is a custom project, which means it's based on the savings. It's a certain amount of money per kilowatt hour saved. So that's how we do that. We also have our instant discount program, and that right now is for lighting and some HVAC and some refrigeration as well. And instant discount is it's just a point of sale discount at distributors in the area where you get that discount up front. With prescriptive, you go through the project, you give it to us, we do all the paperwork, and then the customer gets their check. So it's just handled a little bit differently. And then we also have a small business program. So definitely different ways that you can participate. All right, what you're here for, solar, let's get into this then. So I don't want to oversimplify, but honestly, the solar incentive is fairly simple. There's a couple steps. First thing I want to tell you is that if you are going to be working on a solar project, I can put in an application for you once you have that interconnection agreement with PECO. So that's always the contractor's first step, is the interconnection agreement. Once you have that, I can put it in. Then you install your system. And this one, like I said, solar is a custom incentive. And so we need to be able to measure the kilowatt hour savings for this, or the production actually. And so once it is installed, we're going to depend on your data from your inverter to provide us with kilowatt hour data. Okay. And then once we get that for a full 12 months, we're going to figure out what that production is. We're going to subtract whatever is being fed back to the grid and then multiply that number by the 10 cents. So again, it is relatively simple. Don't let the 12 months throw you off. It's it's still money. Even though you have to wait a little bit, it's still some money. So it's always a good sell, I think, for you just to let your customers know that, I'm connected with PECO and I can provide this application and, get you some money back for your project. So a couple things that we do need for the application, like I said, once that interconnection agreement is done, I can put the application into our system. So you can see here, there is a list of things that we need to submit it. It's pretty simple, just the PECO bill, the quote, spec sheets for the equipment. PV watts model is standard. We do ask for that because that's going to give us that estimate of what you think the savings/production is going to be. The last one, confirmation of capability to obtain system trend data. I don't want to make that too confusing. It's very simple. What I need is when you send an email saying, here's all of my documents, let's get this application in. I just want in that email, I want you to say, we are happy to provide kilowatt hour data from our inverter, something like that, just so we know that we can pull that data. Because if we can't pull that data, then we can't incentivize the project. I just want to be clear about that. So again, solar, it's a pretty simple incentive. What I want to talk to you about now is, PECO has several trade allies, and that's what I do. I am a trade ally account manager, and I work with several different types of contractors just in order to help them get projects into our system, answer questions, things like that. So next slide, please. There are some benefits to being a trade ally. And I can speak to this because honestly, before I did this, I was a PECO trade ally. And so I'm very familiar with how the program works. So when I was doing that, a couple of my favorite benefits were having a dedicated outreach manager. Now that's what I do. And so as a trade ally, what I would do for you is, again, assist you with applications. We are happy to go to customer meetings if you need that, if you need some assistance explaining to your customer how the rebates work. We're happy to do that. We can do that in person or virtually. Either way, you can have the customers call us to ask us questions. Again, we have goals to reach. We want you to sell these projects, as much as you do. Well, maybe not as much, but a lot. So that was one of the benefits, and another benefit was just being listed on PECO's website. There's a search tool on there for all the trade allies, and it's nice to have your name on there. And another one that I used frequently was co-branded marketing materials. So if you're getting into solar and you are a PECO trade ally, we have a solar flyer. We have a marketing flyer that talks about the incentive, and you could get that co-branded with your company and your whatever contact information you want on there and your logo. And I know a lot of people don't use paper anymore, but sometimes it's a nice thing to leave at a meeting. So there are other benefits, but those are my 3 favorites. And again, if you're getting into solar or you're already in solar and you're just trying to find out how all this works, being a trade ally of mine is only going to help you. It's only going to make this process much easier. So I know that was short, but again, pretty short and sweet and to the point.
That's what we like.
Yeah.
Matt, it looks like we've got a couple questions coming in. I can take them, Matt, if you'd like. I know you've got about 25 screens up. So first question is, does PECO provide permits?
Permits, meaning for the solar?
I believe so. It's not specified. And Pete, if you want to maybe just confirm via chat that you're talking about solar permits, that would be great. And he's also asking, does PECO provide a plan review if required?
Okay, so with the interconnect team, I'm not 100% on the permits, but I'm 90% sure that yes, you have to go through that process. And if there is engineering review that needs to be done for that solar project, yes, they do that.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the clarification on the question at this point, and I don't see any other questions.
Okay.
So what I will remind everyone of is that we will be sending out a link to this video, so you can share it if you'd like with your network. You can reach out to Maddie directly if you've got any questions. I can attest to working with Maddie directly. I think she'd be a great trade ally. And yes, solar permitting,
Yeah.
Maddie, was the question.
Okay. Like I said, I am 90% sure. There's a whole
Mhm.
process that goes on before it gets
Right,
to me.
right.
So apologies. That's not my,
That's okay. We
I'm
certainly,
learning.
yeah, we can
Getting there.
certainly, if it's a Philadelphia project anyway, we can speak with Ellen and I, and if there's specific questions there, Pete.
Mhm.
So with that, I don't see any other questions. Maddie, thank you so much. I
Of course.
appreciate your time, and it's nice to know it seems pretty simple and that you guys are there to help our contractors work through the process in order to get as much savings for their customers.
Absolutely. I really can't stress enough that I'm here to make it as easy as possible for folks to participate. That is literally my job. So,
Excellent. Think of Maddie as the easy button. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And with that,
oh, oh,
we'll follow up with Pete directly and we'll close it out. Thank you.
okay. All
Have a
right.
great day.